everybody, it's Allison again, stlprostretch.com. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Today's video is going to be a little bit more advanced or intermediate version of a video that I did on calves and hip flexors and just kind of the pelvic stretches. So if the first video wasn't enough for you, then you're in the right place. As usual, please work within your range of motion. If something hurts, stop doing it. And for the most part, move and resist. We will be doing some passive stretches today, some resistance stretches, but we won't maybe be moving in and out of the stretch as much. As we know now from the current research that all stretching is good, so just do what feels good for your body and you should be all right. Okay, let's come to the mat. You will probably need a blanket for your knee, maybe a rolled up mat and maybe a chair, but maybe not. So if you have all those things, then great, and maybe a yoga block too. If you don't have all those things, pause and go get them and then come back. Okay, let's come to the mat. Okay, here we are. We are at the mat. And the first video I had done the calf stretches on a rolled up mat like this. So I have the mat here, and I'm standing on the mat with the balls of my feet. My heels are back. I have even space between the inside of my feet, so my feet are not turned out. And I was reaching for the chair, and I'm going to lift the heels and lower the heels and press the chest down toward the ground. Now, the farther away the chair is, the greater the lat stretch. If you take the chair back towards us, then you're going to see what happens to my hips. My hips are going to be way back there. It might feel better. It might not. Just, you'll have to feel it out. I feel more hamstring when I do it that way. But we're going to do a little bit more advanced version of that today. I'm going to get rid of this rolled up mat. We'll use it in a minute. I'm going to put it right here in front of this chair. And we're going to do the downward dog version of this. So I've got my hands here. And my feet are hip width distance apart. You do not have to be in a perfect downward dog for this at all, so don't worry about your form. I'm going to lift my heels, shift forward, shift back, slowly lower my heels. As I lower my heels, I'm going to try to push my chest back toward my thighs, lift the tailbone up, and you should be getting a decent calf stretch. So this is your little warm-up. I'm going to do 10 to 20 of these. And what I've been doing lately, and I've actually been using ankle weights, just to get into my calves a little bit more with a little bit pressure, is to, and you can keep going, but I'm going to demonstrate this, is to lift a leg. And I'm going to lift and lower. And actually, as I lower, kick up. As you lift, you can lower the foot. Or just stay here and lift and lower the leg. I've been doing like 20 of these per side, and I really feel like it's helped loosen up my calves quite a bit, and also I'm getting some glute action, which is never a bad thing in my world. So try that out. So as I kick up, I'm lowering, and as my leg comes down, my heel is lifting. So you can do it that way, or just stay here and kick up. We'll do the other side. So a few on the other side. I mean, the higher you get this leg behind you, the more you're going to feel it in that calf. Now, if this hip comes up, you're going to lose some of the calf stretch. Then it's going to become more of a hip flexor stretch. So we want to keep the hips level as much as you can. And as the leg kicks up, the heel's going to lower. If your hands slide, get yourself a towel. Put a towel underneath your hands. That will help you a lot. Eventually, for some reason, you'll get like yogi spider fingers and you won't need the towel. But I started with the towel years ago, and I used it all the time for downward dog. So that's nothing to be embarrassed about, using something dry that doesn't slide underneath your hands. All right. That's probably about enough of that, right? Maybe not. Next, we've got this rolled up mat on the chair. I'm going to put a block right there. I've done this in other videos. This is it's just a really good stretch. So you're gonna bring your feet away, maybe till about 3 feet away from the chair, and then you're gonna step a foot forward and put the heel down. You may want to back it up a little bit. I've got my right foot forward. I'm gonna pull my right hip away from the chair and my left hip toward the chair. You're gonna get a hamstring and calf stretch here. If you want more calf, tip forward. This is one of those where I kind of feel like we've already kind of loosened up the muscles a little bit, so a passive hold is not going to be harmful at all. We've already warmed up, so the muscles should be somewhat warm. If you want more, stretch your chest forward. Bring your hands out on this chair. Really stretch forward. So this would be the yoga pyramid pose. We're going to switch legs. I'm just going to bring my feet together and step the other foot forward. The ball of foot on the block and the heel is down. I'm pulling my left hip away from the chair, right hip toward the chair. So I feel like I'm kind of wrapping my hips around to keep them level, because otherwise if they open, then I'm going to lose a lot of the stretch that I'm wanting to get in my soleus and my calf. And then I'm going to stretch my chest forward as much as I can. And if I want calf, I'm going to tip forward. And that should really get into that calf. It's almost like a slant board. I kind of have to, like, after I tip up and down, I'm almost going to have to reassert this left hip pulling back away from my head and the right hip pulling forward, because I start to lose the integrity of my hips trying to be level. All right. Next up, we're going to get into hip flexor land. So I'm just going to move this chair away. We don't really need it anymore. And I'm going to get my blanket out. Okay, so this is your typical hip flexor stretch. We're going to knee down. Oh, I'm going to take this yoga block with me just so I have it. And so I'm going to start to shift forward and back like our basic hip flexor stretch, the Kihara hip flexor stretch, the belly in, tailbone under. I'm going to imagine my legs scissoring together, or sometimes I like to imagine my bottom leg pulling forward. And I'm going to do the opposite of sticking my butt out as I shift forward and back. So we're going to shift forward and back. Once you get to about here, what's going to happen is the belly wants to spill forward. And I really want you to try to avoid doing that. So if you can come here, and you can hold it if you like, or you can just place your palms on that front leg and navel in and up as you shift forward. I want you to drop these hips forward. So drop them down, and then press away. You're going to feel that back leg strongly kicking into the floor. That's what we want. Whew, that's a good stretch. And then if you like, you can lean over to the right. And then, just like our runner stretch with the Kihara central hamstring stretch, heel pulls forward and back, like that. You can use blocks for this if you like. I just use the floor. You can move in and out of this stretch, or if you prefer, pull it back and walk your hands forward. I want you to feel that heel pushing into the mat as you draw your chest forward.
So this is just a kind of a deeper version of the regular central hamstring stretch. Moving in and out of it. If you are moving in and out of it, I'd say 10 reps maybe. If you're holding 30 seconds, something like that. And then we're going to turn. I'm going to plant my left hand down, and I'm going to turn my shoulders to the right. You can lift this arm. You can put it behind your back. You could move in and out of this stretch as well. It's really up to you. What is your body telling you it needs right now? Does it need to stay here? Does it really need to fill that stretch? Or not? And then we're going to shift forward and we're going to walk this foot out to the side a little bit. I still want the toes to be pointing forward. And if you need a block, you may need a block underneath. We're going to shift forward, and I want you to come deep. And then bring your hands down and kind of bend the elbows and just hug the right knee into the side of your body. And then come on down. I like to put a block underneath my elbows when I do this and just hang out for a second. And breathe. And then we're going to come up. I'm going to take my left hand out to the side a bit, and I'm going to turn my right toes out to the right a little bit. And as I shift forward, I'm going to turn to the right, and I'm going to push my knee out. So I've got my hand on my knee. I'm going to push it out as I turn. You can even allow this foot to fall to the outside of the foot. All right, and then I'm gonna bring it up, and I'm gonna turn to face you, and my toes are gonna be pointing toward you. I'm gonna slide my right arm down my right thigh and lift my left arm up and over. Again, you can move in and out of this. If you're one of those like diehard, I have to move and resist. One thing I want to note in this position: belly in, tailbone under, always. Okay. And then we're going to turn the toes out to the side, and we're going to lean into it, and you can come down even lower. I'm going to push this. I'm going to use this arm to push the knee open. My belly is pulling in and up. My tailbone is under. I'm almost contracting this left glute as I lean to the side into this amazing stretch. Again, you can move in and out of it, or you can just hold. Some of you might even want to you could take your hand behind and pull back into a back bend. It's really up to you. I can actually do it here with my arm in front and just take a little back bend. All right. And then we're going to do the other side. I'm actually going to stay facing the same way. That way you can get a better view of what I'm doing. So my left leg is forward. Hip flexor stretch. I'm scissoring my inner thighs together. Do the opposite of sticking your butt out. Belly in and up. Shift forward and back. Just a reminder, as you shift forward, don't let your body lean because you'll lose most of the stretch. So I'm warming up. I usually say 8 to 12 reps for a Kihara set, if that's what you want to call it, a set. And again, you know what? You might want to just stay here and use your hands on your thighs, use your arms to pull the navel, the belly in away from the thigh and the tailbone under. And you're going to feel a major push of your back foot. My right foot is pushing into the mat. To me, this is like just taking the stretch to the next level. Another next level would be leaning over to the left. And then I'm going to stretch my hamstring. So again, heel is pulling in toward you, just like the Kihara central hamstring stretch. I'm pulling the heel in toward me the whole time, moving in and out of it. You can point your toe. You can keep your toes pulling back toward the shin. It's just a matter of what feels good to you, where you'd like to get. If you pull the toes back toward the shin, you're going to be getting a lot more calf. And then you can hold here. You might want to move in and out of it if you're not warm. Get those muscles warmed up, and then, walk your hands out a little bit. Drive that heel into the mat. Pull the chest forward. That's really going to get into that hamstring. And if you want to, plant the left hand or the right hand down on the mat and turn. And we're going to get into that lateral hamstring here in a big way. And you can move in and out of it this way as well. What happens to me is this left hip wants to lift up and come forward. So when I'm turning, I'm trying to keep it back as much as I can. If that means I need to bend my knee a little bit, that's okay. You don't have to come into a full stretch. All right, and then we're going to come forward. So I'm going to walk my foot out to the side just a little bit and shift my hips forward. But I'm going to keep this knee in close to me as I shift forward. And I'm going to drop my hips just as much as I can. And then I'm going to come down. I'm going to bend my elbows and see how far I can get. I often use a yoga block underneath my elbows to do this stretch. This is like lizard. I'm trying to keep this knee in close to me. As best I can. And then we're going to come out to the side. So I'm going to take my right hand out to the side. I'm going to turn my left toes out. And I'm going to turn to the left and then push this knee out as I shift forward. And you can even roll onto the outside of the foot as you push it out. And I'm going to bring it back. All right, and then we're going to do the side series. So, blanket here. I got my foot out to the side. And I'm going to be, my toes are kind of pointing forward as I lean. Again, you can move in and out of this stretch. And then I'm going to bend my knee and I'm going to turn my toes out to the side. You can add a scissoring or a pulling together of the inner thighs if you like. You don't have to. But one thing I do want you to remember is do the opposite of sticking your butt out and navel in and up. And the knee is open. So as you lean, You can come down a little bit farther. You could keep your elbow on your knee, or you can come down a little bit farther and then reach up and over. I'm doing a massive posterior tilt, so I'm doing the opposite of sticking my butt out. This is going to get into your hip flexor and your quad a little bit and your QL. And again, you could move in and out of these. This is fine. Totally fine. You might want to even back bend a little bit. I'm reaching back with my right hand and stretching as much back as I can, keeping that knee open and the tailbone tucked under. I'm almost squeezing my right glute. And then come on out. And then we're going to end with a couple of stretches for the back and for the hip flexors. So if you have a yoga block, this is going to be really helpful. So I've got my yoga block under my hips. You can use it in the lowest position or secondary position, totally up to you. Probably lowest position is just fine. Bring a knee into your chest, stretch the opposite leg out. Draw that knee in and open it out to the side. Now, for some of you who are really flexy, you could actually take this foot under and do it that way. But that'll be another day, another story. That'll be the advanced version. We'll get into quads a little bit more. All right. And then the other side, knee into the chest, stretch the other leg out, and then I'm going to open the knee to the side. I'm using my elbow just as a prop, as a kickstand for my leg. And I'm stretching that. I've got this block right underneath my sacrum, so it's kind of doing the work for me as far as pulling my tailbone under and my belly in. Okay? And then I'm going to take the block out. And I am going to cross my legs. I'm going to lift them up, and I'm going to bring them up and over to the left, gently. You might want to do this. You might want to actually just keep the knee out, walk the foot out to the side, and bring it over. Whichever way feels best to you. Shoot, you could just leave your knees together. But I was trying to get into a little bit of the glute and the fascia in the back. And then we'll switch to the other side. So cross in the other direction, left over right, and knees go to the right. Again, if this isn't your cup of tea, you can do a figure four, like the knees out to the side, and just walk your right foot over and then let the legs fall to the right. To me, this feels better to me today. Which really depends on the day, what muscles I've used. And that's it for today. Any questions? Just please leave them in the comments, and I will do my best to get to them. And until next time, happy stretching. Bye-bye.